attack. Always coming in last, bringing up the pass. No one owes you anything, I think. You need a shotgun blast, a kick in the ass. So paranoid, watch your back!
And good day. It is Hump Day.
Hump Day.
Wednesday, September 12th.
That's right.
Holy moly. Welcome into today's edition of Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle. Justin Kalen high atop the crew chief's box, keeping us spinning around the track.
It's also right.
Before we get any further, let's get to Justin and the headlines.
All right, here are your headlines for this. Well, let me get all my
You get your own sound.
let me get all my
machine
stuff
now?
lined up. Yeah, there we go. All right, these are your headlines for September 12th on this Wednesday, brought to you by Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart, located on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. Make sure you stop in for your hot breakfast, fill up your gas tank, or hit up one of their daily lunch specials. $4.99 today, pork barbecue sandwich, as well as potato salad. Former Hoosier Ian Thomas upgraded to the number one tight end on the Panthers depth chart after Greg Olsen refractures his foot. Who knows how long Thomas will spend at that number one spot, but he'll take advantage of it while he's there. Didn't mean much as it was only a friendly, but USA beats Mexico 1-0 in soccer last night. And staying on the soccer theme, number 2 Indiana defeats number 8 Notre Dame in overtime, 2-1 at Notre Dame. Those are your headlines, brought to you by Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart, located on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. Make sure you stop in. $4.99 today, pork barbecue sandwich and potato salad.
Delicious. Big win by the soccer team.
That's right.
Man, they've got it going on. That was a road game, too.
Yep.
Little roadie.
That is their fourth ranked opponent they've beaten in their first 6 matches. Not bad.
Well, they don't play a cupcake schedule.
No, not even a little bit.
But great way to start the season. They finished the year with a bad taste in their mouth, runner-up to the national champion, which would be great for a lot of people, but when you already have 8 banners hanging, you're kind of used to that.
Not happy with runner-up.
No, because they actually finished runner-up to the Big Ten tournament, Wisconsin, and did not win the Big Ten title either. That came down to the last day last year. So,
I had forgotten about that.
Unfinished business. Unfinished business.
No doubt.
We got a lot going on today. Big show. Matt Weaver from Peaks.com will be joining us. Also, Ryan O'Gara, beat writer for Ball State from up in Muncie. We'll get a perspective on the Ball State Cardinals. You know, they're fired up after that near miss at Notre Dame.
I bet.
And they are not coming here. I posted, they're not coming here for the paycheck. They're coming to win, to try to win the game.
And a paycheck.
And take the paycheck as well.
It's like Eastern Michigan. They got the win and $500,000.
That's all they got was $500,000?
Yeah. That's what Purdue paid him to play, yeah.
Oh, Purdue.
Yeah.
I was thinking Michigan. I'm like,
No.
What? You get a mill, you go to Michigan, baby.
Yeah.
Big O-M. Welcome into the program. As I said, we've got a big show coming up today. Also, make sure you reach out and sign up. Follow us on iTunes or Google Play, even at indianasportsbeat.com. That way you get every show delivered to you. If you're on iTunes, leave us a review. It helps, apparently. I'm not on iTunes.
Definitely helps.
I'm a Google person. We'll hear from Coach Archie Miller today as well, as he talks about some various things. Talk about Romeo, talk about the season, what it's like this year as opposed to last year. We'll also hear from some football players. Got a little bit of everything.
Yep.
Little bit of everything. And then no games last night. The week is kind of screwed up because of the holiday deal. I was thinking Monday football for some reason. I'm looking for Monday Night Football. And now that it's on, I want it every day. We had that 5-day stretch of college football. It's like, well, I can't go without it now. But it won't be long. They have Tuesday games, remember?
No, NFL doesn't.
No, college.
College might, yeah. Later on down the road.
Yep. Tuesday games, Thursday games. They hoard in on the high school, some on Friday games.
Yep.
Which that bugs me. Not a fan of that. I'm not. Stay off the Fridays. Leave that for the high school kids. Just Saturdays you're fine. You've already taken Thursdays and some Tuesdays. Actually, NFL, they jumped on that Thursday bandwagon too.
Yep. They've NFL's revamped their Thursday night. I don't know if you remember last year or not, but their Thursday night games last year were horrific. This year, they're putting some competitive games on Thursday night. You got Bengals Ravens this week.
Is that competitive?
Probably not. But compared to what they were putting on last year.
Well, how much worse could it be?
Yeah. Bengals Browns.
Yeah. And how about the first tie in a minute?
First tie in week 1 since 1971.
Well, in week 1, but the first tie period for a couple of years, hasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Tie. That's just the most ridiculous thing. There should not be a tie.
Me and a buddy were talking about this. How do you fix a tie in the NFL?
There's a number of ways.
What's Jim Coyle's way to fix a tie in the NFL?
Why do you got to have a clock?
Yeah. Just play till someone wins?
They used to have sudden death. It used to be sudden death. It was just that one extra 15 minutes. Now, if somebody didn't score, it still would go down as a tie. But there's the Collards method, which a lot of people don't like. But you get a winner.
Yeah, that makes it too easy. Takes all the skill.
In the NFL, it does. They'd have to. Yeah, I'd say you go to someone scores, and then the other team gets one more opportunity. There you go.
We're discussing a kickoff. Like a field goal kickoff. Back them up 5 yards every time. But then you can't
have a game in.
Well, yeah, and that's what we were talking about. That's when you get the brutal soccer ending. Let's end this thing in goal kicks. I mean,
penalty kicks is better than a kickoff in football.
Yeah,
that would suck. You can't have a game that's managed by big, strong, hard-running guys and it be decided by kicks.
Oh, in soccer, you got a game that's managed by fast, athletic, in shape guys, and you got who knows coming to kick the penalty.
So all these guys are fast, athletic, and in shape too.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
But the game isn't predicated on. Yeah, it's just so many other things that game that's gone into that game. I just would hate to see it to come down to kicks, personally.
Oh, I agree. I hate when soccer comes down to penalty kicks. I think it's brutal.
No, I don't. I think penalty kicks are kind of cool because it's not one; it's 5 and 5 on the other team. I don't know. I don't mind it so much. I don't mind it
until it's your team.
No, I see. It's just want them to win.
Yeah.
I mean, it's part of the deal. You ought to be able to put the ball in the goal. Personally, I think.
Yeah.
You know, Michael Penix was supposed to play against Virginia.
Saw that.
Which makes sense to me. Again, here's the deal. They're not going to say. I think that Brandon Dawkins thing really kind of threw him for a loop. They weren't expecting that. They were probably fully expecting him to come get this spot until Penix was ready. Things went in a different direction. So they're still getting Penix quite ready, but I just think that they ought to let him learn.
I mean, it makes sense why he wouldn't play in the Virginia game, right? The weather, you don't want to risk injury. When I read that last night, I understood why he did.
Well, everybody else is risking injury?
Yeah.
What's the difference? The thing, it was the turnovers. It was ball security. That was the deal. That was what their concern was. So That's fine. Going forward, you'll definitely see him and probably more of him in the Ball State game. This could be the game that they give him the opportunity to be Michael Penix.
Yeah.
Because that's going to have to happen sooner rather than later. Otherwise, Indiana's just going to be vanilla wafers.
You give him a start here?
No. He's coming off a game he didn't even play. So, no. But you get Penix in. I mean, you get Ramsey in. Hopefully they can get a score. You can get up by 2 scores. I'd get Penix in as fast as possible. I want him in there as fast as possible in game-like situation with a game somewhat on the line with their number one defense in there. That's what I'd like to see.
Now, what happens in a situation where Penix comes in, loses the lead, then what do? Do you leave Penix in to give him an opportunity to try to come back and win, or do you put in your experienced Peyton Ramsey?
It depends. Is it his fault? I mean, did he do something? If it's not him, then it's not.
Guess there are other factors that go into it.
Yeah, but if it's his fault, yeah, I'd jerk him. Got to win the game.
502-414-1450 is the text line if you want to get involved with the show. Joker texts in and says, or asks, what's wrong with the college rule but start at midfield instead of 25? I still just think it'd be too easy for an NFL team.
Yeah, from a field goal standpoint.
Yeah.
Or field goals can not be any closer than a certain distance. Who knows? I don't know. There's a way to resolve it very easily.
Yeah.
Gee whiz. It's not that difficult. You just play till somebody wins.
I don't know, though. And I hate that it happened with my team, but I kind of like ties in the NFL. They're rare. Like you mentioned, it has been a while since we've had one. They're kind of unique. I mean, I hate a tie, don't get me wrong, but it's different.
Got no use for it. Just got no use for them. It does no good whatsoever. It just screws with the standings.
Definitely screws with the standings.
Yeah, I've got no use for it. Hope your day's going well. We appreciate you joining us and letting us join you. 16 minutes past the hour. We got to take a break. We've got a good show today, as usual. Matt Weaver from Peaks.com will be on, as well as Ryan O'Gara from the Muncie Press. He'll get an input from the Ball State perspective.
Come on.
That we hear from Archie Miller as well here on Indiana Sports Beat. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more.
Just grab them in the biscuits. Also told you that I like to bite. Well, yeah, I guess it's obvious I also like to write. All you had to do was give Humpty a chance, and now I'm gonna do my dance. The Humpty dance is your chance to do the hump. Come on, yeah, sexy lady. Do the Humpty hump. I'll do the Humpty hump. Sexy baby.
If you're a homeowner and have storm damage to your roof, you want a hometown contractor you can count on and trust. Brooks Roofing of New Albany has been doing quality work since 2006. Check out their work for yourself at brooksroofingin.com. No job is too big or too small, commercial or residential. Brooks Roofing is probably working in your neighborhood right now. Visit brooksroofingin.com or call 812-868-ROOF. That's 812-868-ROOF. Brooks Roofing, the protection you need when nature strikes. Today's guest is brought to you by Kentuckiana's Premier Truck Center, located 5 miles north of downtown Louisville, just off of I-65 at Veterans Parkway in Clarksville.
All my friends, yellow lowrider.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle here on that Tuesday, and you know what that sound means. Chronic Hoosiers along for the ride. Chronic, how you doing, my friend?
I could not be better. How about yourself, Jim?
Cannot complain, my friend. Nobody wants to listen.
I hear it.
Good weekend for Indiana. Tough conditions up there on the football field at Memorial Stadium. Rained nonstop, but Indiana able to come out with a win. Come out without injury of substance that I'm aware of. So a good weekend.
You know, one of those games when you really take into account what exactly conditions were like that day, it just one of those games that you just look at, you can break it down all you want. At the end of the day, I think the biggest thing that stands out is they were able to overcome. They were able to overcome pretty stiff opponent. They were able to overcome conditions that just made every facet of the game virtually unplayable. I mean, to be quite honestly, this is because of the field conditions we have with the artificial turf, the drainage that allows the stadium. One of those games that probably doesn't get played at a number of stadiums across the country just because it's not capable of handling that much rainfall. NWS reported almost 6.5 inches just the day of the game here in Bloomington. Just absolutely abysmal conditions. It was monsoon-like. And it's such a wild card, though, that when you look at the result that the Hoosiers were able to get out of it, you just tip your cap to them and move on, because that was overcoming an adversity the likes of which hopefully they don't see again this year, unless perhaps they end up meeting Florence sometime next week.
Yeah, I was amazed by the conditions of the field itself. Were pretty good because that rain that just didn't stop. It never was ponding other than maybe one little area that I saw, and it certainly didn't slow Stevie Scott down.
No, by no means. That stadium really does. It drains like a bathtub. Its ability just to suck water right out of it. I think one thing that gets lost in that is how much of the water is not just falling on the field, but that whole stadium is draining down to it. The drainage systems throughout town were completely overcome by the volume of water we had. I stepped out my backyard. We got a low-lying yard where most of the neighborhood kind of drains to the rear there. We have a dry creek bed most times, but when it rains, it gets pretty wet. And, even at the top of my yard, you'd step outside and you were sinking about 3 inches. The saturation was just tremendous. So to be able to play the game there, to be able to play at a level where it wasn't too terribly effective of the game, with maybe the exception being the special teams unit, at least the kick unit, I thought they did, pretty extraordinarily well. Tremendous effort by Stevie Scott. You knew it was going to be a game where passing was going to be mainly or mostly neutralized. Kind of a ground and pound type situation, and to have a freshman back like Stevie step up. I think one stat that we can look at the 205 yards, just 3 short of Anthony Thompson's freshman record. One thing that jumped out to me, though, looking at that, guy on 31 attempts only went backwards for 1 yard the entire game. A net loss of 1 yard the whole game. So just the ability to get downhill and stay pointed that way, absolutely essential for IU being able to pull that one off, especially when you look at the production he put up in the second half, over $1.25 of his 205 yards in the second half. While the Hoosiers weren't able to put any points on the board, which is a little disappointing in that half, his ability to keep moving the chains, keep burning clock, and giving his defense a chance to step up and win this for him, I think you get a different outcome if you have any less of an effort from that kid.
And it was a spectacular effort. Now, is that something that we can see again, or was that helped greatly by the conditions of the rain and whatnot?
I'd imagine he's probably going to be the showcase back going forward. If I'm not mistaken, he's still currently not listed as a starter for next week's game against Ball State. I think what was interesting in that, you only saw Reese Taylor get a couple touches. Other than that, it was just Stevie and quarterback Peyton Ramsey. So they really didn't seem to find any reason to bring anybody else in, or at least get them any carries. Now, I know they're going to sub in a lot of backs for pass protection, but that wasn't a huge part of the the playbook this weekend. So we'll see. The other thing is that you have a breakout game like that, and you're not going to go unnoticed anymore. I mean, you're going to be a key for defenses from this point throughout the season. It doesn't matter how much number drop off. Every defensive coordinator on our schedule is going to look at that type of performance and put a big check mark or a star or a circle, whatever they do next to his name, making sure that his defenses are aware of what this guy's capable of.
Speaking of defense, the defense really stepped up. They held Virginia to under 300 yards total offense for the game. And the quarterback, Bryce Perkins, that coming in, everyone knew he was going to be a runner, that he could run and did. But he was pretty much it for Virginia. Everything else was held in check.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that was one of those situations where I think the defense, we talk a lot about, where they failed in week 1 at FIU, or where they were at least, some of the shortcomings where Coach Allen acknowledged he was not too pleased with it. That was probably most mindful watchers' biggest concern, was how IU was going to be able to contain a guy like Perkins, who had previously thrown for a couple hundred yards, ran for over 100 yards himself in their season opener. And as a whole, the defense did a really good job of keeping him, mostly contained. Now, he still put up 100 yards on the ground, threw for 105 or 135 yards. It's no small feat in those conditions. All that said, though, their ability to really keep him from having any of the big breakout runs. This was a defense last year that prided themselves on the bend but don't break mantra. And this year, in the small snapshot we've seen from them, I think what's becoming apparent is they can snap at times. But I think what's most impressive with them is their ability to bounce right back into shape when the defense does break down. Over half of Perkins' production, if I'm not mistaken, I think I saw Ken Bykoff tweet this out after the game. Over half of Perkins' production on the day came on their 2 scoring drives. You take those out, and they really, really limited his overall effectiveness.
The one thing that shocked me was when I saw that Las Vegas made Indiana a 14-point favorite over Ball State this weekend, a team that lost by 8 at Notre Dame against a team that struggled to win by 4 against Virginia, but yet they're 14-point favorites. So I think Vegas sees something that a lot of people didn't see through all that rain.
For a guy like myself who loves to put those lines out, I will never pretend to have any clue how in the heck they come about achieving those lines. I do understand that they're pretty good, and keep in mind too, Vegas lines aren't actual predictions as much as they are best placed so that they can get even money on both sides of it. But if that's the case, then basically what you're looking at is they believe that's where the public generally feels it's going to be one way or another. I do think, however, team like Ball State going up Notre Dame Stadium, that's going to be the high point of their season for most of the players on that team. A lot of local guys that probably grew up in the shadows of Notre Dame football, as most of us here in the state of Indiana does. Or do rather. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit of a decreased effort from them output. Don't get me wrong, though. Ball State is a heck of a football team this year. They've got a far improved squad from what we've perhaps seen in years past. Although some of us remember years past where the tables were turned a little bit on the Hoosiers. But you know what? I think it's probably going to be indicative of an Indiana game that's got hopefully a little bit closer to a true home field advantage. Although, man, again, I hate to keep harping on the weather, but the number of people that showed up, I saw a lot of people say, "Oh, look how empty that stadium is." Man, I'm sitting there going, "Do you realize how many people are standing out in the monsoon right now?"
I couldn't believe
going absolutely bonkers for this team, and not just how many showed out, how many stayed to the very end. It was cold.
The students were unbelievable. The students, when I got there, I always get there a couple hours early, usually 3 hours early. This week, not so much, maybe about 2. But I have to park. I'm over by Assembly Hall, so I got to walk all the way across the backside of the stadium. Well, I could see the students. They were lined up before the gates hadn't opened yet, and they're outside. And I'm like, wow, that was a little surprising. Then the gates open, and they all go into their student block where they stood until the game started an hour and a half later. And they were there throughout the game. I was mesmerized. I couldn't believe it. Unbelievable.
No, huge tip of cap to all of those that showed out, students, fans alike. But you know what? I think you're going to see. I think you're going to see a tremendous home crowd this weekend for Indiana. I think you're going to see an IU team that's probably pretty keyed up, starting 2-0. I think you're probably going to see a more balanced attack on the offense, both opening up the passing game a little bit more. And I think you may see a little bit of a letdown from Notre Dame after that close performance up in South Bend last week. And that being said, though, I don't think this is a team that IU can afford to overlook. This is very much a team that's capable of coming in here and stealing one. I would love to see, I don't know that you're going to see it as much. I'd love to see the defense continue to improve a little bit, maybe not have those breakdowns like they do, because on the scoring drives that we've seen allowed so far this season, there's not a whole lot of resistance going on. It's been incredibly too easy on each one of the scoring drives IU's allowed, both against Virginia and at Florida International, where they just seem to roll right over us. Now, they can snap back all they want, and that's certainly great to see, but they got to figure out a way to limit some of the effectivenesses of offenses once they get rolling and going downhill on IU. Because otherwise, once you hit Big Ten season, man, you just can't give up that. You can't give up points that easy. You got to claw for every single yard. But I think it's something coming. You look at the week 1, week 2 growth. Defense definitely made some strides, and honestly, they for a team that's had the challenges they've had this year, trying to fill all those holes. Pretty remarkable the way in which the defense is basically able to replicate the offense last week, take that final drive, and ultimately dig in and make it theirs and take the victory for the Hoosiers.
Talking with Chronic Hoosier, one thing that I think we didn't see Michael Penix at all last week. Coaching staff obviously did not want to put him in a position where ball control was tantamount, which I'm still a little puzzled by. But I think you would definitely see him this week. I'm waiting for him to have a Stevie Scott breakout game because I think that it's coming. I think it has to come for Indiana to win more than 6 games. It's going to have to be with Stevie Scott as a starting quarterback. That's just my opinion.
I say this much. I felt like, not only did I personally want to see him, I felt like he deserved it. I was a little surprised by the leash that the coaching staff gave Ramsey. He did have the one interception, but he had a couple that, but for the ball conditions, probably would have been turnovers as well. And, that's been one thing we've seen, especially when he's got to get downfield more than, 10, 15 yards with his arm. The strength isn't there. It just doesn't come off with the zip. And then sometimes there's some decision-making that comes into question. I personally think that, Penix, I felt like he deserved a shot to come out last week, and if nothing else, just to give the offense a different look. They stalled out in the second half. I probably expect you'll see that. I do believe at this point, with where they are, both in the quarterback depth, both with or at least the closeness of the competition for quarterback, as well as with a little bit more depleted running back core. The idea of preserving his red shirt's probably out the window at this point. Although, one thing that I think we can look at too as this is playing out, is really giving an indicator what type of faith the staff has in Peyton Ramsey, because, in years past, most of these quarterbacks, when we haven't had a whole lot of separation among them, they have been on an extremely short leash, and, the staff has shown no hesitation whatsoever in yanking them whenever there's some questionable decision-making out there. So, kudos to the staff for riding with their guy, but I wouldn't be surprised if you see a more balanced mix between Penix and Ramsey next week.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's faith or just fear of going in a different direction. I know it seems kind of reminiscent of last year when you've got a third and 12, and here comes this 5-yard pass again, looking for 7 yards after the catch every time, and I think that's an offense that's getting a little stale.
Yeah, and I think one thing that we have to acknowledge, and that is, for all the criticism offensive coordinator Mike DeBoer's got. I don't think that he's generally not trying to get first downs. I think he's probably more aptly trying to stay within the realm of capabilities of his quarterback. And, if you've got a situation like that where you are 3rd and 12 and you don't have the confidence in your quarterback to air one out for 15, 20 yards and get past the sticks, then maybe you need to look at who you're running at quarterback. But, that's why he gets paid the big bucks, and I'm sitting here on my couch just now drinking the first cup of coffee because somebody forgot to put water in when I woke up.
Chronic Hoosier,
after I turned it on.
We appreciate you, my friend. Thank you. Look forward to talking to you again next week, and hopefully we'll see you up at the game this weekend.
Looking forward to it. Hopefully it'll be sunshine on our faces and fall in full effect here, guys.
That'll be it. Chronic Hoosier, thanks again for joining us.
Always.
We'll be back with more here on the morning with Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle. Coming back, we've got Aaron Manis from Fox 41. Stay tuned. Indiana Sports Beat's right back.
You know that's my cue. I'm gonna meet the boys on floor number 2. Smoking in the boys' room. Smoking in the boys' room. Now, teacher, don't you feel me? Up with your rules. Or everybody knows that smoking ain't allowed in school.
This is Jim Coyle. When I'm not on the road covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 on the northeast side of I-65 at Veterans Parkway in Clarksville. Bring the team in for that post-win meal in the family dining area or just meet friends for a happy hour. Bubba's has bold burgers, hand-tossed pizzas, mouth-watering wings, and a list of select local craft brewers for the coldest beer in town. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Burgers, pizza, beer. Welcome back to a Hump Day edition of Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Hump Day.
Justin Kalen, High Tops, Crew Chiefs Box, spinning the tunes. Give us a chat on the text line if you wish, 502-414-1450. You got some questions you might like to ask Ryan O'Gara from the Muncie Star Press. He'll be along shortly. He's a beat writer for Ball State. Get their perspective on the game this weekend. Also, Matt Weaver from Pigs.com will be along. If you got any questions for Matt, shoot him along as well. While you're busy with the fingers, always feel free to reach out and find us on iTunes or Google Play. You can IndianaSportsBeat.com as well. You can have the show delivered to you each day that way. You don't have to worry about missing anything. Leave us a review if you're on iTunes. It helps. That's what they tell me. Right?
That's what I've heard.
That's the rumor.
Makes it easier to find, I think, is what the deal is.
But certainly find us on Indiana Sports Beat. About anywhere you need. We're there. That's where everything is loaded up. The interviews are loaded. Lots of interviews there on the Facebook page. Post-game interviews and whatnot. Ohio State Buckeyes are on the road a test this weekend. One of the few better games. They're going to TCU. You know, Ohio State has scored 129 points in the 2 games this year.
Jeez.
Most in FBS. TCU has not allowed a point in the second half this year. Something must give. This is the last game of Urban Meyer's suspension as well. As you can see how much it's affected them.
That's 65 points a game.
That's a lot. And yet they dropped in the poll.
That's silly.
Yeah. I'm not buying that. And did you see that Texas has long been the most valuable program, I guess, money-wise. They have been surpassed by Texas A&M.
Is that just for football? Or athletics as a whole?
Athletics as a whole. $148 million in revenue.
Wow.
107 in profit. That's how you sign a $75 million contract with Jimbo Fisher.
Yeah. My goodness.
And then how about the Hoosiers this weekend? Are 14-point favorite over Ball State. Notre Dame was a 17-point, no.
It was more than that.
34.5-point favorite. They beat them by 8. Indiana is a 7-point favorite over Virginia, wins by 4, but yet they're a 14-point favorite over Ball State. I'm still trying to wrap my head around this one.
Yeah, I don't put too much stock into last week just because of how the weather was, but yeah, it's still odd that even before they knew the weather situation, Indiana was that low of a favorite, and then now you're going into Ball State, 14-point. I don't either. I don't get it.
Don't we have some sound from football players?
We do. I've got Stevie Scott, Jonathan Crawford, and Peyton Ramsey.
Let's hear from all of them.
All right. What you got a preference on which one you want first?
As you play them, let us know.
All right. Here's Stevie Scott talking about Ball State week.
Stevie, you obviously come off of a very big game as a freshman running back as Indiana picks up the win against Virginia. To start, speak to the offensive line group in front of you and what they did to help you out back on Saturday.
Well, definitely without the offensive line, none of this would be possible. The guys played very hard. They blocked hard. They were aggressive. They had that mental mindset just to finish. And I just followed through and just did my thing with them.
Stevie, take us through your mentality right now, 51 carries through 2 weeks, and obviously this week in week 2 headed into the Virginia game, your role expands a little bit with the news of Cole Guest and how you've embraced this bigger role as a freshman.
Well, I just leave it all in Coach Hart's hands just to put the best running back out there just to help this team win. So, I'm not really focused on the carries or yards. I'm really mainly focused on helping us win.
As you entered week 2, did you feel a bit more relaxed knowing that you've already gotten your first collegiate game out of the way?
Yeah, definitely. I felt pretty relaxed. I had to just get the game pace down packed, and then once I get it down packed, just play my game.
From week 1 to week 2, it seemed you were a lot more patient, letting holes develop. I guess what's changed for you from week 1 to week 2, and obviously what you hope to build on headed to the rest of the year?
Well, Coach Hart always stressed in practice just to be patient, and then when you see that seam just explode. So, that's what I did. I practiced that all week during practice, and then it came to show in game.
That was Stevie Scott, who had a breakout performance last week against Virginia, falling just 3 yards short of Anthony Thompson's true freshman rushing record. 204 yards on 31 attempts. A lot of that predicated by the rain and weather conditions. He won't get that many attempts probably the rest of the season.
I'm thinking that still has to irk him. 3 yards shy. 3.
Yeah, but a lot of people were glad to see it that it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Anthony Thompson's he's the face of the program.
Yeah.
So it's still great that he has that record. But
Well, maybe Stevie Scott's trying to make his own face of the program.
there you go. Well, you can do that when you're a Heisman runner-up. But you got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And then also you got Peyton Ramsey, I believe.
Yeah.
Quarterback Peyton Ramsey and his thoughts on Ball State as well.
Peyton, 2 weeks into this season and 2 victories for your Hoosiers on Saturday. Obviously, weather had a lot to do with what you were and maybe weren't able to do on Saturday. Just first to take us through the conditions that you were dealing with and the challenges you faced out there.
Yeah, I mean, I've never played anything like that. It was a game where it rained from start to finish. I mean, it just poured down rain, but I think we did a good job of executing, and we ran the ball really, really well, and that helped us definitely.
Speak to the offensive line and the way they played, paving the way, either protecting you or obviously opening up some running lanes for a guy like Stevie and how well they performed.
Yeah, I think that's something we've seen through spring practice and into fall camp of how much they've come along and as a unit how much they've improved and progressed, and it's really cool to see, and it's fun to play behind those guys.
You mentioned after the game, Stevie Scott with his 204-yard performance that he grew up a little bit in the situation with the injuries that room has been dealing with, and Stevie getting 31 carries. Just speak to the improvement you saw from him and his work ethic that you've seen.
Yeah, I think he knew he needed to step up and make plays, and I don't think he shied away from that at all. He was, really accepting and willing of the challenge, and it showed, really. And he wanted the ball, and he wanted to make plays.
In the air, you threw for 156. You had one interception. Talk about the way you could bounce back from a throw like that, and manage the team the rest of the way.
Well, yeah, I knew we needed to make plays on the outside. I knew I had to give the receivers a chance. So I think, if I shied away from throwing the ball down the field, then it kind of would have hurt us. So I just kind of, try to let them go up and make plays, and that's what they did for us, and it ended up paying off.
Yeah, he kind of just threw it up there and let them go up and make plays. I noticed that too. Also, who's the third person we have?
Jonathan Crawford.
Jonathan Crawford, defensive standout.
He's had a hell of a year.
They're only 2 games in, but yes, he's had a great season already. Interception, forced a fumble in the first game. Had a great game against Virginia. I think was the leading tackler. So there's your defensive standout so far for Indiana this year. Here's Jonathan Crawford.
Jonathan, as you look back from the win on Saturday, take us through that final drive in the defense and the mentality you guys had to try and keep Virginia out of the end zone and seal the victory for your Hoosiers.
Well, our word for the year is finished, and I believe that final drive is really where the word comes from and where it needs to be needed at. So, honestly, Coach Allen emphasized it, and I feel like we pulled through.
As you look back, that first drive of the game for Virginia, they come down and score. Just talk about the adjustments and the almost hitting the restart button for this defense. You're able to lock in the rest of the game.
Yeah, we had a miscommunication up front, and that's what led to the big play. And once you get rid of those, the game slowed down for you.
Calling that game in the rain.
All right, Jonathan Crawford, the standout specialist on defense this year for Indiana. So there's the guys as they're heading in to play Ball State. And we'll hear from Ryan O'Gara today here on the show. He's the beat writer for Ball State for the Muncie Star Press. Get their perspective on especially after a game they had last week against Notre Dame, in which they were 8 points short within one score and gave them all they wanted. Intercepted Notre Dame 3 times, had tackles for loss. I mean, they really gave them all they wanted.
Yeah, and it's going to be a tough game this weekend. I mean, it's Ball State's. We've talked about it this week or a little bit and a little late last week.
They're very much improved.
They're very much improved, but they've also got a history as of late against Indiana. I mean, they've put up some really good fights against Indiana the past couple of years. So I'm a little bit worried about it.
Well, it's the weather should be fine, so there should be no excuses in that regard of Indiana being able to use its wherewithal of offensive weapons. The running game obviously intact. If they can get done what they got done in that hurricane, then it should be good. Good sledding this weekend. Plus, the passing game should be rolling, and we're going to see Michael Penix, no doubt. Like I said, the plan was to play him in that last game. but because of the weather conditions, they decided against that. Coach Allen said that we really expected to play him, to be honest with you. The weather conditions were so bad, I just thought Peyton Ramsey was doing a good job and was comfortable out there. I know he threw one pick. That was a mistake that he shouldn't have thrown, but I just thought it was a tough situation to put Penix in. Man, they are really babying him. I'm like, dude, it's not like you got Peyton Manning out there. Stick him in.
I mean, I get it, though, in terms of the Virginia game.
I do too, but I'm like...
Like you said, you'll see him this Saturday. The weather's going to be beautiful. It's going to be mid-80s, sunshine.
But that just goes along with that same old conservative offense that they've been doing. It's just another excuse. Well, it rained. Well, we didn't know. Yeah, I'm tired of the excuses. Let's go.
I mean, if
let's try to win. Let's try to make it better as best as it can be. Because I'm sorry, my opinion is Peyton Ramsey is not the best it can be, and it ain't gonna be the best it can be. He's okay, but that's it. Okay, and that's what they'll be. Okay, if that is the way it stays. Just my thought.
Yeah, no, and I don't disagree with that. I mean, Peyton Ramsey, I think on Saturday was getting the job done, like you said. Tom Allen said. So I don't see a need to risk injury with your guy.
This had nothing to do with risking injury.
Well, I mean, or ball control injury. Same thing when it comes to weather like that. I mean, it's both factors are out there. But I mean, it's if you see Michael Penix as your quarterback of the future, I don't understand why you would take a risk in that game.
What are you risking again? I'm sorry, I missed it. What are you risking in that game that you're not risking someplace else?
Confidence, first of all, if he goes out and fumbles the ball 3 times because of the rain.
Okay, well.
I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying I was okay with not seeing Penix.
He's from Florida. He's played in the rain before, I assure you.
He probably has.
What? He's got more experience playing in the rain probably anybody on that team.
Yeah, perhaps.
I'm just saying I'm tired of the excuses.
Yeah.
Let's go. He should have been the starter to begin with. Peyton Ramsey just doesn't do anything for me. He's okay. He's okay.
I don't think you're alone in saying that.
I know I'm not.
I think you're probably in the vast majority.
I'm the only one that says it out loud. But
True.
I'm not the only one that says it, trust me. But it's just like, come on, it's time. This is time. If they want to beat teams like Michigan State, it's going to be with someone like Michael Penix, who has a much higher ceiling, who has a broader range, so to speak. Just my thoughts.
I do have a sound of Tom Allen talking about Ball State this upcoming weekend.
Let's hear what he has to say. Here's Coach Allen.
Team that really, I think, was impressive against Notre Dame, at Notre Dame. And Coach New's done a great job there. Know him well, respect him a ton, and does a great job. Kids play really hard. They've gotten a lot better. They struggled last year when they lost their two best players on offense, their quarterback and their tailback that are back now and healthy, and they really were not the same without them. But with them, they're a really good football team. And, Riley Neal is the best quarterback overall in terms of passing and everything he can run. He's athletic and big old guy. He's the best, most complete one we've played yet. Throws the ball extremely well and got a talented group of receivers and a very good set of running backs. So James Gilbert, kid out of Indianapolis, runs extremely hard, tough. So offensive line's big and physical like they always are for there. And we know that they've been a tough out for Indiana the last several years, and we beat them the last time we played them. It was my first year, I think my second game here. But we had a tough time putting them away. And they've had a lot of success against us in the past. So they have our full attention, and they have done a great job to be able to win their first game and then go to Notre Dame and play within a one-possession game against a very talented Notre Dame team. So that opponent coming to town defensively has improved dramatically in a year's time. Dave Elson's a DC there and know him well, and I just know a lot of their coaches and a lot of respect for them, how hard they work and the job that they do, and their kids are well coached. They play really hard. So we know how they're going to come here, and they're going to play their tails off. So we have to match that and play our best. We have to be having our best week of preparation, continue to clean things up, get better in all 3 areas, and play our best football on Saturday. Questions?
Coach Tom Allen, Indiana head coach, talking about Ball State quarterback Riley Neal, who was under siege from Notre Dame's pass rush all day Saturday, but he delivered a gritty performance under some very odd circumstances. He went 23 of 50 for 180 yards, ran 7 times for 35 yards. But here's the deal. On Friday, FBI agents raided the Yorktown home of Neal's father, Jess, a longtime Muncie police officer. The search is believed to be part of an ongoing federal investigation. How about that?
Yikes. So he was a little rattled on Saturday.
Yeah, you got that going on. And he just got this little game at Notre Dame. That's all. So you talk about, wow, some tough circumstances.
No doubt.
Gee whiz.
One thing I thought Alan said there that really caught my ear was the fact that they've got Ball State has Indiana's attention. So it sounds to me like this has the opportunity to be a game that you look over and just count it up as a win, but
they're not going to overlook
exactly.
Ball State, I assure you.
And that's fantastic to hear.
Yeah, I guarantee you they're not going to. Plus, they didn't get to unleash anything last week. So, and in the first week, you're not going to unleash much. This is a week where they can flex their muscles a little bit, so to speak. Stretch out a little bit. Well, that's why we're going to see Michael Penix. We're going to see him stretch the field a little bit. Because if they can't do that against Ball State, their ass is grass against Michigan State.
Yeah.
It's just that. It's period. End of story. If Michael Penix can't come in and stretch the field a little bit, they're in deep trouble. You're not going to beat Michigan State dinking and dunking, throwing 5-yard passes when it's 3rd and 12, and you're hoping for 7 yards after the catch every time. Ain't gonna happen. So hopefully Michael Penix has a great outing Saturday against Ball State. I think that is the hopes of the coaching staff. That's just a guess on my part, but I'm certain that they're hoping that he steps up because I think that it's very obvious they're a lot smarter at this than I am. And if I know that things ain't happening with Peyton Ramsey, that they know that as well. Yeah. I mean, I think that they feel confident they can win with him. I really do, because you have to. But the truth of the matter is, no, they can't. They can't beat certain teams with him. I don't know if they can even be competitive with, say, Ohio State with him.
Yeah, we'll see.
This my thoughts.
Speaking of Michigan State, a couple texts into the show. 502-414-1450 if you'd like to do the same. Josh texts in and asks, if IU starts out 5-0, which is entirely possible with how shaky Michigan State has looked, is this team an 8 or 9 win team?
Well, at the beginning of the year, I said that I could see 8 wins.
I went on a limb and said 9 might even be possible.
Well, that's why I said you were nuts.
That was a little silly, but
not with Peyton Ramsey at quarterback. No, it depends. If Peyton Ramsey's a quarterback, no, they cannot win 8 games, and they can't go 5-0 with Peyton Ramsey at quarterback. I don't think personally, but can they go 5-0? Yes, because Michigan State has been a little shaky, but that's if they have the offense humming, and the defense has to continue to improve. They made some great improvements from week 1 to week 2, which was huge. They have to continue to improve. The quarterback they're facing this week, not the runner that they saw, but probably a little bit better of a passer. But they're probably playing a little bit better of a defensive team as well.
Yeah.
A team that picked off Notre Dame 3 times, tackled him for loss, 3 or 4 times, sacked him 3 or 4 times. So the intensity will definitely pick up for the offense, definitely, because they're going to have to do some things against a tougher defense.
Yeah,
we've got to take a break. We're at the top of the hour.
We do have a couple texts to get to when we get back, so if you want to be a part of that, 502-414-1450.
Also, Matt Weaver's joining us, as well as Ryan O'Gara, beat writer for Muncie Star Press. Stay tuned here on Indiana Sports Beat. We'll be back with more right after this.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
That's on other stations too. Welcome back to the program, Indiana Sports Beat, here on this Hump Day.
Hump Day.
September 12th. I can't believe it.
Where is this year gone?
Unbelievable. Coach Archie Miller spoke a little bit about the team. Don't get to talk to him very often. I didn't get to talk to him yesterday. I don't see him until game time almost. But he was on with John Rothstein. And John asked him several things. First thing they talked about was coming into this season, the differences between coming into the second season versus coming into his first season. Here's what Coach had to say.
Well, as anyone knows, when you take something over, it's brand new for everyone, whether that's new staff members, trainers, doctors, secretaries, new routines for everyone. And then you add in, 13 to 15 new players that you're trying to teach everyone the same thing. And, usually when you get through year one, your goal and your hope is the development of your returners in your off season, makes you feel a lot more confident that your system is in place. Maybe not, fully, but, it's in at a level that is much higher than it was a year ago in terms of us not having to teach everything. And then the influx of new people. We have 6 new players, 5 freshmen and 1 graduate transfer. And those 6 guys now have to get acclimated. And I think just the year 2 feeling is we're further ahead in our style and our system because our returners are much more clear on what the expectations are and how we do things. And I think that's been a little bit easier for our younger guys to take lead by example and follow the steps.
And, Coach talked about an influx of a lot of people, 6 new faces. 5 of those are going to be freshmen. Of course, one of those is Romeo Langford, but he is not a one-man team by any stretch of the imagination, which I think some fans have gotten it into their heads. But also, Coach was asked about Romeo's talent level, where it compares as to the others he's seen.
Where does the talent base of Romeo Langford compare to the most talented guys you've been around since you've been in college basketball?
Well, he's as talented as any guy that I've been around as an assistant or as a head coach, regardless of what his age is right now or what the age of the other players that I've been around have been. He's extremely gifted athletically. He's got great size at the guard spot. He's 6'6". He's 215 pounds. And he's got a tremendous glide to him in terms of north-south. He's smooth. He's rim to rim. And, at the end of the day, finishing and getting fouled is something that he's done really well. What we're trying to do with him is just teach him the college game here as early as we possibly can. The competition level, playing defense, the physicality of the game will change for all freshmen, and he's no different in that realm. So coaching him the right way, coaching him the same way as we've always coached our guys, and just trying to put a premium on his development, understanding and letting him know that he can make mistakes. He's going to make mistakes, and it's okay. He doesn't have to be perfect. But, he's got a great personality about him. He's enjoying his time here this fall just in terms of working and getting better. And we're excited about him like we are all of our guys.
And he mentioned there's several other players. You've got 6 new faces coming in addition to players from last year that they've just gotten better. But as far as who might else be an impact player this year, here's what Coach had to say.
St. Mary's, he's older. He's very mature. He's 6'10", 225 pounds. He's a career 40% three-point shooter, and he's won a ton of games, obviously playing at St. Mary's and being in the tournament, competing against Gonzaga. So I think he's a guy that everyone will see kind of right away being right in the mix to help our team. Our other freshmen, other than Romeo, all have a chance to contribute. Denise Anderson and Jerome Hunter are 2 big, skilled wings that provide size that we haven't had, obviously in our first year on the perimeter. Robert Finnessy is a true point guard, out of the state of Indiana, who I think is going to be a terrific Big Ten player in his time. And I think as a freshman, he has a window to be able to get in there and help. And then Jacob Forster, who to me adds the toughness and the energy level that you're going to need to play defense, to rebound, to attack, with depth inside in our conference. And as a young guy, I think he has a chance to get his feet wet. So I think all of them have opportunities. All of them have windows. They're all going to provide, a unique role because I think they all have unique skill sets. But I would say just off the top of my head, all 6 guys have a chance.
And then speaking of a new face, it's not necessarily a new face, but Deron Davis, who went out with a Achilles injury last year, a severe injury that happened around January. And that's usually a year-long process. But let's find out where he is in his recovery and the status on Deron Davis.
Yeah, Deron tore his Achilles. He ruptured his Achilles basically on the 1st of January. And from that point forward, he's had the long road back of recovery and rehab. He was here all summer, trying to get himself back as best he can. And, I'm a little surprised right now that he's doing as much as he is. He hasn't really been cleared for contact, but he is participating in our team workouts at I would say 60 to 70% of the activities, which is good, because the big thing for him right now is to get confident in running and cutting and jumping. But the big thing for him is we won't really understand how quick he can be ready to help us until his conditioning level gets back. When you're at that size with that injury, not being able to do much, the big thing is going to be his conditioning level. And, we're going to take it really slow and, be smart with him because, once you're in shape, that's the best chance you have of really being yourself. And if you're fighting against conditioning, injuries and some other things can step in. But he's on the path, for October 1st to be a part of our practices.
There's Coach Archie Miller talking about some of the new faces you're going to see in this season coming up. We'll hear more from Coach Miller tomorrow. But we don't get to hear from him very often. Like I said, I see him at games and press conferences, and that's it.
Yeah, not a guy that gets out a lot and talks to the media.
No, he keeps he keeps a low profile.
But nice that in the middle of September we're hearing an update on the team. I mean, and you think about it, we're only 17 days away from Hoosier Hysteria.
Yeah, that I noticed there's a month in between that and the first game.
Yeah, if no more, almost.
Well, it's exactly that. November 1st is the first exhibition game against Southern Indiana. So, which is a long time. Usually it's a couple weeks.
Yeah.
So it's starting substantially earlier this year, but the games won't. There'll be a little bit of a lag in between.
Well, the game starting earlier too. I think 3 days. The first game.
Yeah, but I mean, the Hoosier Hysteria is substantially earlier than what it had been in previously. But that's just how it is. Things change. Things move along. The rule change helped that as far as it's so many days before your first game as how it's done now. If you're following us, make sure you can do so if you're on iTunes. Sign up. Google Play, sign up. You can have each show delivered to you that way. IndianaSportsBeat.com as well. That way you don't miss a single thing. The show's replayed each day at 10 o'clock right here as well as our live broadcast from 6 to 8. So make sure you tune in for that.
Let's go back to the text line, 502-414-1450. If you have a question you want to send in, JR texts in and says he went to several spring practices and preseason practices. Penix has a higher ceiling, but Ramsey still looks like the best option. Penix still not quite ready.
Yeah, well, you got to get him ready. Sometimes you
And how do you get him ready?
You put him in game situations.
That's right.
You put him in game situations. I'm just telling you, you learn to win. You learn to fight to win. And just doing enough to just get by is not going to work. So it's time to take an extraordinary step, in my opinion.
Well, and it's like any other job. I mean, you get a new job, what's going to be your best way to learn? If they throw you into the fire, give you that experience. That's the same thing with football. I mean, you throw Penix in, he's going to get that experience. He'll learn to win, like you said, and eventually, hopefully down the line, he's going to be your number one quarterback that you can count on for 4 years.
And I think his own confidence will grow. I mean, The running game is going very well right now. The offensive line is performing well right now. So now's the time to put him in. Now's the time to get him that experience and let him be behind those more experienced people on the line that they have. And although the running game is not experienced with true freshman Stevie Scott, he's looking like a veteran already. But so I just say let's go. Let's try it and move it forward.
Well, and that's the thing I'm thinking. How much will Michael Penix's confidence go up just turning around and handing the ball to Stevie Scott and seeing him go up the field? I mean, that's just a little thing like that. Like, I'm not really doing anything, but here I am running the offense. It will bump up his confidence.
I think you're going to see a quarterback battle against Ball State, personally.
Yeah.
I think that Penix knows that, hey, when I get my opportunity, I need to shine. So I just think you're going to see a quarterback battle, and it's up to whether or not DeBoard breaks out of his conservative shell. Yeah. I mean, this same 3rd and 12 throwing 4-yard passes that is carried over from last year to this year. So we'll see.
And one more quick text before we got to get to a break. Joker texts in and says, I bet Ball State doesn't throw it in Crawford's direction.
Probably not. Before we get to a break, also, let's hit the headlines.
That's right. Give me a second here. Let's extend this out a little bit. I was not prepared for that, clearly.
I see that.
All right, here are your headlines for this September 12th on your Wednesday, Hump Day. $4.99 pork barbecue sandwich and potato salad is the lunch special today at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart, located on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. Make sure you stop in for your breakfast, fill up your gas tank, or like I said, grab that lunch special. Former Hoosier Ian Thomas upgraded to number 1 on the Panthers' tight end depth chart after Greg Olsen refractured his foot. Didn't mean much as it was only a friendly, but USA beats Mexico 1-0 in soccer. And staying on soccer, number 2 Indiana defeats number 8 Notre Dame in overtime on a corner kick in overtime to win it 2-1. Those are your headlines, brought to you by Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart, located on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. $4.99 pork barbecue sandwich and potato salad today.
How about my man Ian Thomas?
Come on.
I called it.
He's going to be good. Greg Olsen, I was reading an article yesterday. Greg Olsen had a lot of really good things to say about Ian Thomas.
Man, I've been saying it since the first play. I'm telling you, I keep saying that same thing over and over, but I'll never forget that play he made, and it was like indelible ink on my mind. It's like, boom. I'm like, this dude is a player.
Yeah. So we'll see. I'll be anxious to see how he does. Greg Olsen could be lost for the season, so Ian Thomas could have a huge opportunity here.
Well, it is a huge opportunity, and he's got a throwing quarterback, a quarterback that he's somewhat familiar with, because remember back during the preseason, they seemed to have a good relationship already when he scored his first touchdown. Yep. Cam Newton comes over, shows him here's what you got to do. He take the ball and he hand it to this kid, and really almost took him under his wing from the start, it seemed like. So it looks like a relationship had bonded there and has carried over, and it's carried over to his performance, and congratulations to Ian Thomas. But, yeah, that's not a surprise, the speed to which it's happening a little bit, but not a surprise, man. The dude's talented.
He did have 2 catches last week as well for only 4 yards. But, yeah, I mean, good to see him get in the offense. Now he's even going to have an even bigger role. So it'll be interesting to watch.
Sounds good. We need to get to a break. When we come back, we've got Matt Weaver from Pigs.com joining us. Stay tuned here on Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle. We're coming right back. Hey, if you're in the market for a new truck or tractor, car, or ATV, you need to be at Hollis Auction Service on November the 10th. Located on Highway 150 in Greenville, just west of Highway 335, Hollis Auction Service also needs items for the auction. If you're looking to sell, call Billy Joe Hollis today at 502-664-1606. That's 502-664-1606. Make sure you're at Hollis Auction Service in Greenville on November 10th. Today's guest is brought to you by Brooks Roofing, the protection you need when Mother Nature strikes. BrooksRoofingIN.com. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle here on Big X. Matt Weaver from Pigs.com joins us now. Matt, how you doing, friend?
I'm doing pretty good. How you guys doing?
Great. Week 3 of college football coming up. Can't believe I just said that. It's unbelievable. It seemed like we were waiting and waiting. Now we're into the third week already.
Yeah, it goes by quick. I mean, it feels like fall camp just started a few days ago, but it's been a little, obviously, still a while longer than that. We're already into week 3 and almost into the Big Ten season.
Week 2, obviously, Indiana took on ACC foe Virginia in a monsoon. How much can you really get out of a game like that? It's a game that you're basically just trying to survive, not turn the ball over, and not get hurt and win.
Yeah, I think what you can get is maybe kind of how mentally tough your team is. How I guess how disciplined they can be in conditions like that, and just kind of do their job and kind of fight through the elements. And I think Indiana did. They did a really good job. I mean, they only turned the ball over once the whole night. That was the interception by Peyton Ramsey, where he admitted he got greedy, just made a poor decision there, tried to throw the ball back across his body. But I think you can take that out of it. I mean, as far as some plays, I mean, obviously your playbook is scaled pretty far back because there's just certain things you can't run, especially in the second half. I mean, Coach DeBoer talked about that on Monday at the press conference, that the ball got so heavy in the second half that they kind of had to kind of go away from throwing it too much, just because it was too difficult in the conditions. So I think you can take some of that from it, but as far as certain plays or execution of certain things, it's going to be tough just because the conditions make it so hard.
Talking with Matt Weaver from Peaks.com, and we did not see Michael Penix play at all in that game. And afterwards, we saw that Coach Allen had said that the plan was for him to play, but with the conditions, they decided not to put him in regards to ball safety, ball security, I'm sure. This week, obviously, he'll play. I think he'll play a substantial amount this week. I think this is an opportunity for him to step up and show whether or not he can take over the starting spot.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. How much he'll play, we'll have to see. But I think he'll get. I would think he'll get more than he did down at Florida National. You kind of hope to, just so you can get more of a sample size of what he can do. And I mean, we saw what happens when he comes in. We talked about it after week 1. When he comes in, it changes the dynamic of the offense. They immediately start going downfield. They stretch the field more with their passing game. One of his first passes was the long pass to Walt Phillier, where they got the pass interference, 50 or 55-yard throw. So it changes things. I mean, he can obviously run too, so that part of the game is still in play for him. It's just I would love to see more of Michael Penix, just to kind of see if it validates what I've seen in practice, and if he could be as good as I believe he can be.
Yeah, because to me, it changes the entire dynamic of who that team is and what that they're capable of from an offensive standpoint, and what the defense on the other side has to prepare for. I think that it makes it a lot easier for the defenses right now when Peyton Ramsey is in there.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, to me, it goes back to, with Ramsey, they can definitely stretch the field side to side, but, we've also got to be able to stretch it down the field with the passing game. And they do throw some balls with Ramsey, but it's almost like it's low. You're trying to almost sneak up on the defense, or it's you're trying to catch him at the right time. With Penix, you can just drop him back and let him throw that ball, because he's just got such a great arm. That even if the defense knows it's coming, he can still make the throw. So, it's just that to me is the biggest thing. There's some other throws he can make. You're on one hash and the receiver runs a 15-yard out on the other side of the field. That's a long throw. That's a tough throw. You got to have arm strength to do that, and he can do that. And that's the kind of throw where if you don't have the arm strength, you can get picked off. So just stuff like that. Just fitting it into smaller windows. There's things that he can do. But Peyton Ramsey has played well. It's not like he's not played good. I mean, he is. I think he's thrown 5 touchdowns and a couple picks. He's run the ball well when he's had the chance. His completion percentage is really good. He's done a good job. It's not that Peyton Ramsey's not played well at all. I think he's played really well. It's just I think there's another level this offense can go to I believe, if Michael Penix gets more snaps.
I agree 1,000%. And then talk about Ball State coming in. It's a team that had a good outing defensively, especially against Notre Dame at Notre Dame. They intercepted Notre Dame 3 times. They had several tackles for loss. They had several sacks. So this is not a thin defense coming into play in Bloomington.
Yeah, it's interesting. The D coordinator at Ball State, David Elson's a good friend of mine. He was on the staff at IU when Kevin Wilson first came in, and he's an Indianapolis guy, Cathedral guy. Was at Western Kentucky for a number of years. Just tremendous guy and a good coach, and he's done a nice job there. They play a 3-4. That's kind of defense he's always employed. He's a defensive kind of background. And I didn't get to see the Notre Dame game. Because of the timing, it was just, I was traveling down and didn't get to see it, but obviously kind of, read about it and you looked at the stats. I don't know how much, you don't want to look too much at stats just because sometimes they can be skewed or they can lie to you, but they definitely seem to do a pretty good job. And Notre Dame helped them out with some turnovers. Kind of wonder how much Notre Dame's players were into that game after playing Michigan. They had all that emotion for that game. Was it a little bit of a letdown trap game? I'm not sure. I'm not taking anything away from Ball State, but they obviously went in there and did a good job. So Indiana's going to have to, they can't sleepwalk through this game. They're going to have to show up and play.
No, but Las Vegas has made them a 14-point favorite, which surprised me a little bit after getting by Virginia by just 4 and with Ball State staying within 8 of Notre Dame. I was surprised to see that line.
Yeah, I guess so. I think it's a game that Indiana could win by a couple touchdowns if they play well. I mean, I think if you get the kind of the way the offense has been playing, and then if the defense plays like it did, I think defense played pretty well against Virginia. I mean, that was now obviously the conditions help, but even with that, sometimes the conditions can also be a factor for defense. It can make it harder to make tackles, to do things, and that quarterback Bryce Perkins for Virginia, that guy's very athletic. He's tough to bring down. We saw the first drive; he had some big plays, and then they pretty much shut him down. So Ball State's got a good quarterback, Riley Neal, who can throw and run. He's a big guy, like 6'5". They got a running back he's from here in Indianapolis, James Gilbert, who is a really good back. So they've got some skill guys. So it'll be important on defense. Stop the run. Hopefully get some pressure on Riley Neal, and then offensively, keep running the ball, pound Stevie Scott, and then take your chances in the pass game when they present themselves.
Yeah, and then of course with the defenses improve, they have to continue to improve. And with Peyton Ramsey, his play, like you said, he hasn't done anything wrong. He's played fine. He's played good enough for him to win. But I think that, as you said, I think that that's about where it ends. What does Michael Penix have to do to change that? Because with Peyton playing well enough to win and not making very many mistakes, the bar seems to be it's got to be a little higher for him to actually take over that spot.
Yeah, I mean that's a tough question. I mean, I'm not at practice, so but I think you just gotta keep doing what you're doing if you're Michael Penix. You got to keep kind of if you keep playing and practicing. If he's practicing the way he did in fall camp, which I'm assuming he is. Practice has been closed since the season started. That you're going to press the issue, and I mean the coaches see it too. They see the talent. I think the biggest detriment for Michael Penix is he's just a young guy. He's inexperienced. Whether people want to agree with that's the reason why he's not playing more, that's fine. I think it's definitely debatable. We've seen other programs go with young quarterbacks. Indiana decided to kind of ease him in. But I just think just keep doing what you're doing. Keep working hard. The coaches recognize that. Football, these guys, they want to win. They need to win. They understand that, and they're going to play the guys that help them win. The most games possible. And I think Michael Penix, does that, and I think they know that. I just think you just keep doing what you're doing. I mean, there's some things you can't control as a player, and how much you get on the field is one of them. All you can do is go out there and show the coaches you deserve to play more, and at some point that's going to happen.
And if they win this game, which they should, that makes them 3-0, which is a very, very big deal because you're halfway to bowl eligibility, and that leaves them with only 3 games that they have to win. But that's gotten a little tougher as it originally had been. Maryland, a little bit tougher than a lot of people thought they were going to be.
Yeah, they're playing well. Especially, obviously it's been, really difficult circumstances. Obviously with the player there who passed away tragically, and then with their coach being gone, and an interim coach the interim coach there, Matt Canada, is another guy who's actually a really good friend of mine. He was at IU for a number of years, and really a great guy, and I'm happy for him that it's going well. But it's a tough deal, but they're playing well. Got two wins to start the season, so yeah, they're playing tough. Minnesota, watched them a little bit. They just lost their running back to a knee injury for the season, so that's a blow for them. They're playing a walk-on true freshman quarterback. Michigan State, they had a tough loss on Saturday. That's who Indiana will play in Week 4 at home. I think that's a game that's winnable. You have to play good, but it's definitely out there for the taking. Iowa's another game where they're playing really well defensively, but they have struggled offensively the first couple weeks. But I think that's another game that's winnable. So there's some games out there. You're gonna have to play good. I mean, you just not have to show up. I mean, this isn't obviously we know with Indiana you can't just show up, but you're not Ohio State or Penn State or some of these other places. But if they come out and they play like they're capable of, I think I've said it before, 6 wins is very doable, and nothing's changed my thinking on that.
Matt Weaver from Peaks.com. We appreciate you joining us each Wednesday, as always.
Okay, thanks, guys. Take care.
Thank you. Matt Weaver from Peaks.com. That's where you can check out his stuff, Peaks.com, as well as everything else. Make sure that if you're following us on iTunes, give us a review. We'd appreciate it. You can sign up there if you haven't to get each and every show delivered to you, as well as Google Play and IndianaSportsBeat.com. You can find us on Facebook as well, where most of the interviews are posted now, everything up there. So go there and check it out. We've got more coming up. Ryan O'Gara, beat writer from the Muncie Times Star Press, will get the Ball State perspective on this weekend's upcoming game here on Indiana Sports Beat, coming up next.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Today's guest is brought to you by Kentuckiana's Premier Truck Center, located 5 miles north of downtown Louisville, just off of I-65 at Veterans Parkway in Clarksville. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beats with Jim Coyle here on Big X. And now I'm joined by beat writer Ryan O'Gara from the Star Press in Muncie. How are you, Ryan?
I'm doing great, Jim. How are you doing?
Great. You're a beat writer for Ball State, covering the Cardinals. You cover them all sports, or just football?
We primarily focus on football, men's basketball, and women's basketball, but we certainly try to give attention to all sports.
You can certainly find Ryan's writing at Ryan O'Gara on Twitter, or you can find him at thestarpress.com as well. As I said, Muncie Star Press. Ball State with a nice outing against Notre Dame probably turned a lot of heads, and I saw one of the things that you wrote, that expectations have changed after that game for Ball State.
I think so. I think that people have to view this team a little bit differently now, knowing that they are able to hang with a team that many have projected to go to the playoff this year, and most people had as a top 10 team in the country. Now you have to look at this a little bit differently, and this isn't really a team that we can look at as having won one game in the MAC in the last 2 years. And if they do fall short of that standard, I think you have to hold them to that standard from now on, because they've shown that they have talent and they are perfectly capable with playing with some of these good teams. And I say that because last year was such a difficult year with injuries, and they did not play and hang with very many teams at all. So it's a different season.
Yeah, and a lot of times the pre-conference portion of the schedule, a lot of teams, especially MAC teams, whatnot, they're paid by some of the bigger teams to come play at their home so they can have a home game, and they get a nice paycheck. But Ball State is definitely not paying for a paycheck here. They took a lot of pride in what they did last week, and it seems like they're trying to push that forward to this week's game.
Yeah, and they deserve a lot of credit for that, especially with the way that the game started. It was really bad. At Notre Dame, it took them 5 plays to score, and it looked like it could have been one of those 56-7 games. But Ball State kind of dug in there and really showed some fight, and I think that's really what Mike New, Ball State's head coach, was especially pleased about, with this way that they competed, when so often it just kind of fell short of that standard, in my opinion, last year. And it definitely they certainly opened some eyes on a very big stage, and I think it'll be interesting to see how that carries over. Can they duplicate that same sort of focus at IU, and then even beyond that? I mean, when you're playing in front of 77,000 people at Notre Dame, it's really easy to get that adrenaline going. So how can they replicate that sort of effort?
Yeah, well, especially on the defensive side. I mean, they had like 3 interceptions, 4 sacks, 4 tackles for loss. A great performance by the defense. Meanwhile, Indiana was playing in a monsoon against Virginia, which it was not a lot of fun. But it's a different type of offense that Ball State will be facing with Indiana. And you've got 2 quarterbacks to probably look forward to as well.
Yeah, unfortunately for Mike New and the rest of the Ball State staff, they probably couldn't tell too much from that monsoon game. We had it on in the press box, and that didn't look very fun for anyone. I'm sure that they're going to have to look at the Week 1 tape and really dial in to a different type of offense, as you said. I think they were prepared for Brandon Wimbush to run the ball a little bit more, and he really didn't look to run very much. He kind of tried to be a pocket passer. And so, they're going to have to readjust this week, and we'll see how they do it.
And then Indiana had a breakout performance from a freshman running back, Stevie Scott. He goes for 204 yards on 31 carries. A big breakout performance for him. Yeah,
and I saw that he's still listed as number 2 on the depth chart.
Yeah.
It's kind of some fun with some depth charts. At least he got on it. But, it's now, correct me if I'm wrong here, but it sort of started to feel like IU was going through some of the same type of stuff that Ball State went through last year, just with some odd stuff happening, and you're getting down to your second, third players at some positions right away, especially at running back for IU.
Yeah, right away,
that's kind
too.
of what Ball State was in. Yeah, that's what Ball State was dealing with last year, where it was just like, all right, these are not the players that we expected to be using this early in the season, and here we are, and IU had a quarterback transfer, I believe, right, or leave the program.
Right.
One that was the
quarterback that was expected to probably get the starting job, Brandon Dawkins, a grad transfer who came in from Arizona, was widely expected to get the job, but not only did he not, he left school altogether. And then on top of that, they had Morgan Ellison, their number 1 returning running back, suspended indefinitely. Then they lost Cole Guest in the first half of the first game, their next up running back. So now down to Stevie Scott, who's a freshman, but they were expecting some good things out of him, but I don't think they expected that good of things that soon. So you've got a lot of youth on the offensive side for Indiana, especially if they get Penix in, which they expect to see him play a lot this week.
Yeah, and he's a true freshman, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and I'd seen that they wanted to get him in against Virginia, but weren't able to just because of the situation. It just wasn't good for that. And so I'm interested to see if those guys get some time against Ball State. I think that Ball State's defense is significantly improved this year. They switched from a 4-3 to a 3-4. They played very fast so far. I think their athletes held up pretty well against Notre Dame, aside from maybe a few plays. And the secondary is much improved. They had 3 interceptions this past week against Notre Dame, and the defense had a total of 6 in 12 games last year. So they got halfway to their total in just 1 game. So could have had a couple more too. So this defense is shown such significant improvement. I didn't really see it coming, at least this much this soon.
And I'm looking forward to it because it should be a good game because the Ball State's improving defense. Indiana is running a very balanced offense. They're pretty equal run to pass as far as yardage. They have been in the first couple of games, so they're staying pretty close to the vest. Again, a lot of that is because Michael Penix is someone that I personally think is going to be the starting quarterback by the time the season is over. But right now they're Peyton Ramsey, who is still young. He's a sophomore. But he's the experienced guy. He's the most experienced guy they have.
And do you anticipate them rotating them in and out, or just giving Penix a series or two in the second half?
I think you're going to see more than that's what in the first game against Florida International, he saw 2 series in the game, and then that was it. But like you mentioned, that they had planned on playing him against Virginia. With the weather, it just didn't happen. But I think you're going to see him substantially more this game. I think you'll see him in the second quarter and the third quarter probably. And who knows, if things go well, you never know if they just continue to run things. But definitely I think you're going to see more of him. I think they have to, because the thought, at least with me, is that Peyton Ramsey has a ceiling that he's not too far from. Penix does, his ceiling is much higher, but he's got to start getting to it.
Yeah, I mean, you need the experience to do that sort of thing, obviously. So, I think Notre Dame had planned on using its backup quarterback a significant amount. Actually, Doug Flutie said on the beginning of the broadcast that this was a great day for the backup quarterback to get some good quality reps. But that just didn't happen, because Ball State just didn't go away. Notre Dame could never really break away, and they never really felt comfortable putting him out there and taking Wimbush out, even though he had a very poor game by his standards.
Offensively, you've got quarterback Riley Neal, who, man, played under, you talk about some difficult circumstances last week. I saw where the FBI raided the police offices in Muncie while the game was going on, maybe, or before. But just what a great performance he put on. He was 23 of 50, 180 yards, ran for 35 yards. Nothing, Heisman worthy, but a very solid performance.
He is as tough as they come, in my opinion. He's a local kid. He grew up, in neighboring Yorktown, not too far from Muncie, and he's extremely tough. It was the first time he's completed less than 50% of his passes since his freshman year, in 2015. And so he was a little off in that regard, but Ball State will take that sort of performance from him anytime. He was running for first downs on 3rd and long, lowering his shoulder. He's just that type of kid, and I think Ball State had a very difficult time getting open for him, especially as the game wore on. He had a stretch where he completed like 6 out of 24 at one point. They just couldn't get that separation against Notre Dame's superior athletes on defense. And they got to win more of those one-on-one battles. But, Riley played well. I mean, he showed well. I think everybody was pretty impressed with how he handled everything and kind of hung in there. And now it's just about scoring in the red zone, because they had to attempt 4 field goals and couldn't punch it in against Notre Dame. And that was really the difference in the game. And if they convert a few of those into touchdowns, it's a much different game there at the end. But Riley Neal looked very sharp in week 1, not as sharp in week 2, but still a gritty type performance. I think you'll see another gritty type performance this Saturday at IU.
And you answered my next question. What does Ball State have to do to win this game? And so obviously it sounds like they need to perform when they're in the red zone and do the things that you said that they didn't get done. What do they have to do to score when they're in the red zone? What were they not doing? What are they not getting done to not complete those tasks right now?
Well, the nature of Ball State's wideouts, they're a lot of 5'8", 5'9" kids, fast, and that doesn't always work in the red zone. I think you need a little bit more size. They have a freshman named Johannes Tyler, who's 6'3", who really went up and caught 2 touchdown passes in the opener, but didn't see the field as much against Notre Dame. He has got to be a weapon, I think, for them, just because he's got great size. And tight end Nolan Gibbon has a touchdown in both games. He's got to be a factor in the red zone because of his size. And I think they have to run the ball in the red zone. they passed it a lot, and I think Riley was 1 of 9 in the red zone passing, and it gets so much more tighter in there. Those sorts of underneath throws aren't always there, and they don't really have the weapons, in my opinion. So they're going to have to run it, look for the tight end, look for Riley to run it maybe a little bit more in the red zone because of his size. He's certainly capable of running it in there, and I think that if they can punch those in for touchdowns, it should be a really good game.
In the game last week against Virginia, the quarterback for the Perkins for Virginia was a running quarterback, and he gave Indiana fits, but they were able to keep everything else under wraps. He rushed for 135 yards on 25 carries, I believe, but they held Virginia to less than 300 yards total offense for the game. So their focus, I guess, was keeping him contained, and I'm not sure if they'll have to do that with Riley or not, but we'll see.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that they're going to design runs for him. Maybe in the red zone they would a little bit more, try a draw or two or something like that. But Riley's the type of quarterback who, when he's dropping back and he kind of rolls out, he'll definitely take off and run because he's got very good speed for being 6'6". I mean, he's extremely athletic for someone that big. And they're not going to be doing like read options where he's keeping the ball all the time and carrying it 25 times. You look for him to run it probably between 6 to 8 times, maybe a little bit more. He used to run it a little bit more, maybe 10 to 12 a game. But I would imagine he'd be around 8 carries, and he'll pick his spots very carefully. But he likes to on third down, like most good quarterbacks do. They always know where the first down marker is, and they're going to take off for it. And he's perfectly capable of doing that. And maybe in the red zone they'll use his size to their advantage a little bit more, especially because he loves to take contact.
Talking to Ryan, and Ryan, do you pronounce your last name O'Gara or Gara?
O'Gara.
Okay, that's what I thought. It's like O'Hara.
Yeah.
You can find him at Ryan O'Gara on Twitter and also at thestarpress.com. Is this a game that Ball State can win, Ryan?
I believe so. And Ball State and Indiana have had some really good games in the last 10 years.
Ball State has won before.
Yeah, they beat them 3 of the last 4. IU won the last one in 2016, I believe it was. But Ball State had won 3 in a row before that. A couple of them were very close games. One of them was a last-second field goal in 2012, I believe, 41-39. There was a 27-20 game in there, a 42-20 game. And so these teams play close games traditionally, and given the state that Ball State is coming into this game in, a lot of confidence, feeling good, and given some of the adversity IU has already had to go through, I certainly think this lines up to be another close game.
Certainly looking forward to it. Hope it's a good game regardless, and I hope it doesn't rain more than anything because it was no fun even being in the press box. Getting to the press box was hell last week, so let's hope it's a nice, dry event for everybody and healthy.
We got so lucky in South Bend because it rained the entire ride up there. It rained the entire ride back. It rained as soon as the game ended. But for 4 or 5 hours on Saturday afternoon, it was just overcast and it was fine. So we got really lucky, and I'm hoping we get the same luck in Bloomington this weekend.
The funny thing is this game, I don't recall any big injuries coming out of that, which was amazing. As horrible as the conditions were, everybody seemed to stay pretty safe and come out of things pretty healthy.
That really is very lucky, very lucky.
Ryan O'Gara, I appreciate you joining us very much so from thestarpress.com. Also, you can find him at Ryan O'Gara on Twitter. Ryan, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. Ryan O'Gara from the Star Press. Catch his information there, as well as at Ryan O'Gara on Twitter. He's a beat writer for the Ball State Cardinals. Covers their football program.
A lot of info there.
Yeah. That's the point. Talk to the people that know more about it than we do. That's certainly looking forward to how that's going to be a good game. I didn't realize they'd won 3 out of the last 4. Yeah. That's it's embarrassing, first of all. But,
does it worry you how confident he was that Ball State could win this game?
No, because they just played Notre Dame. They lost by 8 at Notre Dame, a team that is, like I said, many picked to be one of those in the national picture at the end of the season. Whether they are or not, we don't know. They're currently ranked in the top 10. They were ranked 8th when Ball State played them, and lost to them by 8, like I said, at Notre Dame on the road. So they played a tough road game in a very, very tough environment. Notre Dame Stadiums is a pretty tough place to play a game, and they did everything they could do to win except for a win, coming up just 8 points short. If you're betting today on the 14-point favorite for Indiana, who you taking? I'll take Indiana, give up the points. I feel confident that when it's dry conditions and they can run out all their different weapons, that it's going to make a difference. That this is not going to be a rain game, so they're going to be able to throw the ball. They're going to spread that ball out. I mean, in that game last week, I had the 7 receivers caught passes, but when we talked to Don Fisher, he said 9. 9, yeah. That's a lot of people catching a ball, man. Any game, much less a rain-soaked, waterlogged football getting tossed around. 9 different guys pass in that game. I can't believe that. Yeah, I caught that too. That's pretty mind-blowing. I mean, in any game, whether it's raining or not, for you to have 9 receivers that log a catch is pretty incredible. 7 was a lot to me. 9 was unbelievable. Yeah. So if they can get that kind of distribution in a game like that, when Stevie Scott was doing all the heavy lifting, running the ball, then my goodness, I can't imagine what it's going to be like when they can really spread things out. And I don't know how much more you can spread it out than 9 receivers,
Right.
but the thing is they didn't go downfield at all. That was all short. And you're going to see some more downfield action this week, especially with Penix playing. They're going to have to stretch the defense. There's just no two ways about it. You've got to go over the top. It's a must, or you're not going to beat the teams after that you're going to be playing, like Michigan State. And that's the thing. You can make some mistakes and not do exactly what you're capable of in a game versus Ball State and still get away with a win. But yeah, like you said, that's tough stretch coming up. You've got to right the ship now. Absolutely. Well, we appreciate everybody we had on today. Ron O'Gara from the Star Press. Check out his writing there, or you can also follow him at Ron O'Gara on Twitter. Also, Matt Weaver from Pigs.com. Appreciate having him. Tomorrow on the program, Trey Hutchins, 20-year beat writer, CNHI. Also, Stu Jackson from the Hoosier.com will be with us as well. So looking forward to that as we end up toward the end of the week. For Justin Kalen, I'm Jim Coyle. Thanks a lot for sticking here on Indiana Sports Beat, and I'll see you on the radio.
No sense of humor.